We're still rolling out the PFAS private well testing stuff, so that's starting to go. I'm not sure we've gotten any big feedback yet. And then still working on the regs, making progress there, and doing a lot of site work. Generally I think not a lot to follow up on or kind of announce to everybody. We are making progress getting the AUL letters out that we talked about last week. Peggy Shaw, I'm not sure if she's on today. Peggy is got them all printed on Tuesday and probably is in the process right now of getting them all stuffed into envelopes. So those should be going out probably, I think we're aiming to mail it next week, next Tuesday.
Paul, did you revise them to remind people about leases and tenants and so forth?
No, at this point, we didn't. The first, they're already printed and kind of approved, and we're not going to do that. And it really is a higher level, top level reminder that you have AULs and reminding them to go and look, see what's there, if they've forgotten. And we thought that getting into the details of various different aspects of it really would make it far more complicated and less generalizable. So not at this point. And it looks like the captain is here, so I'm going to go off for a second. I should be back soon.
Amazon banned PFAS in food packaging for Amazon. However, they didn't ban PFAS in baby, healthcare, beauty, or other products, personal care products. So.
Was that something recent that they announced?
Yeah, that December 15th, Amazon added PFAS to the list of banned chemicals for food packaging shipped through Amazon. I'll send you.
Wow, that's huge. I think they had another announcement about their greenhouse gases reduction goal recently too. I was wondering if it was packaged with that.
I don't know. It was just funny, just curious that, they have two lists. So they have their list for packaging, and then they have their list for baby, personal care, beauty, and healthcare products. And they didn't put PFAS on that list. So it's okay to put it on your baby, just don't eat it or get food packaging.
Matt, I was looking forward to seeing you walking this morning in the snow and just seeing the beautiful scenery behind you.
No, I'm in the other location, and I'll be shoveling this morning. I'll be shoveling. No walking. That's why we do the walking, so we can shovel when we need to. So,
you don't think, Cole, you don't think Matt's scenery behind him is beautiful?
No comment, Wendy.
I love it.
Oh, look at that.
I feel like it's a set from like a theater production or something.
Before Paul comes back, I don't know if anyone within the LSPA or maybe Liz, I had a colleague reach out to me. I guess there's an open rec for an LSP investigator at MassDEP. Do you know anything about that?
No.
I wonder if you're thinking of the LSP board.
I'm not sure. He just reached out to me like maybe last week and again this morning, and he said MassDEP LSP investigator position. So
yeah, my guess would be LSP board.
That sounds like LSP board.
Yeah. You know, the DP had LSP investigators. That's pretty interesting.
It's our
little subtle hint, Larry.
Wing. Yeah.
We got an email from the folks up high in HRD and human resources, pointing out that we no longer have snow days, and we cannot use the weather related time codes. There will be work. And the only time now that we get to kind of use the weather related codes is if we lose power. So that's it. So this is the downside of the telecommuting and the teleworking and having the resources to work remotely. You know, you still have to work on days like this.
Does MassDEP fill out a timesheet?
Does everybody? Doesn't everybody fill out timesheets? Yes.
Well,
We have the state government went to all electronic time reporting a number of years ago, and I think they've gone through a couple variations on it as they update the systems and create new systems. And each time DEP has, among all state agencies, apparently we have the most complex time reporting systems, because among other things, if we work on, as with anything, I mean, you have clients that
yes,
pay
of
you,
course.
you have to charge your client codes. We get grants from EPA
Oh, I see.
to do various
Yeah,
things.
or if you're going to do cost recovery, I would think you have to keep track of your time.
And if we have to do cost recovery. So if
Oh,
we're
interesting.
spending money, whether we're working on sites, whether it's EPA or direct oversight, we're spending state money. We have to track that, very carefully. Actually, not only the RTN, the grant it's coming out of, the activity that we're engaged in, because certain things are chargeable, other things are not chargeable. So yeah, it's
Interesting.
Wayside Cleanup's been tracking our time if you worked on a tier 1A site back
Oh,
to
yeah.
1993, because remember the fees we used to charge
Yeah.
was the actual oversight time.
Yeah, and it didn't become any easier when we switched from that direct billing to the annual compliance fees for even the tier 1A sites, because we do have to track our costs for things like cost recovery or for EPA. So it didn't become any simpler. And then it is helpful, for instance, budget times. We have codes specific to work that we're doing for PFAS, for example. And so that's another place where you can put in not only the site, the activity, but also if it's unique to a certain thing like PFAS. And that's how we're able to track that in fiscal year 2019 and make an argument to the powers that be that we've been spending essentially 12 FTEs on PFAS, and we could use a little help. And it's that kind of detailed documentation that then led to an increase in the budget specific to hire staff for PFAS.
Do you use 6-minute increments? 0.1 hours
Like lawyers? No.
Like lawyers do?
I believe we're 15-minute increments is what they allow us. So
do you have
any telephone call, 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's the old days. When I first started to practice law, it was 0.25, but clients got unhappy with that soon.
Then computers came out and you had to track it more precisely.
That's right. Don't you have the computer tracking software that shows what's on your screen all the time, Paul, that tracks so it can help billing?
Don't suggest that to our IT staff.
Well, I do know that with Microsoft Teams, they know when you log in and they know when you log out.
Yeah.
And they can track your time that way.
Do they know when you're sleeping? They know when you're awake?
Yeah.
Santa uses
They
that
know
too.
when you've been bad or good.
Yeah.
Oh, Larry, they've already got the thing where some companies are requiring people to keep their cameras on so that they're monitoring both what's on their computer screen and the camera to see that they're actually there working.
That
Yeah,
in Russia or here?
Here,
Oh,
and it's called employee productivity software.
My son set up my son set up a background with him in it so that he can just have that up there on his screen. He's only used it once, but it worked.
Oh, no, apparently it's a big thing with kids, Larry. So, right? Because everybody's doing online school. So the kids have figured out how to, like, you know, have a loop run of like sitting in front of the screen. So it looks like they're in class.
Yeah, that works for Zoom, but you know, on Teams, I don't think you can have a video run. It had, you know, you would have a static picture, and that's not quite as good. But Zoom meetings, yeah, you could do that.
I did, you know, people will figure it out.
Yeah.
These are like old scenes from Mission Impossible or Ocean's 11. Now it's everyday technology.
Yeah.
I was thinking back to all those movies, you know, and they always have like the world leaders on screens and they're having like a virtual conference and it was like a big deal. And now it's like, what, you know.
Yeah, big deal. So
what's going on at DEP?
So what's good? Yeah, we're the same. Lots of site work, lots of you know, PFAS, lots of reg changes. Wendy pointed out that the LSPA had sent us a couple letters dealing with both the labor regulations on asbestos, and we're working with BAW kind of on that. So part of that is, you know, interagency discussions. So I'm kind of hesitant to kind of be more specific about that, because there is, you know, we talk amongst ourselves as part of regulatory kind of policy development and discussions. The other was about
before you
Sure.
go on, thanks. I mean, it's great to know, first of all, that you all are talking to each other. And then I guess the other question about that was, we had heard that those DLS regs were going to be, it wasn't really clear whether they were going to be released, finalized, or released for another look, or released from DLS to go through the hierarchy for approval. So it sounds like, but before the end of the year. So it sounds like that is not likely to happen. Can I infer that from what you were saying about the timeline?
No, I would. So our Bureau of Air and Waste is taking the lead on that. They're more involved. I can check with them on the timeline. More on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Say no more. Can say no more.
I hear you.
And then the other thing was the Wayside Cleanup Advisory Committee and making that more diverse, which we've talked about here in the past. We've been talking internally and kind of working on some things on environmental justice and the public outreach. The next thing on the list is DEP and this actually started about, you know, on Monday on our weekly call on environmental justice. Ann Lowry, who's our assistant commissioner for the Division of Bureau of Policy and Planning, is taking the lead in doing kind of a DEP-wide review of the advisory committee's members. And Wayside Cleanup volunteered, meaning I raised my hand, saying that we were ready to work with her and our environmental justice folks to kind of identify ways of modifying, and the advisory committee both kind of, we've talked about things like instituting turn limits to kind of create more of a turnover and have fresh people and fresh ideas coming in, expanding the advisory committee to include kind of a wider range of interests, filling holes that are already there. So because Wayside Cleanup's advisory committee is not doesn't have statutory requirements on kind of how it's composed and how it's managed. They thought that we would be a good guinea pig for doing that. So I have an email from Anne that I haven't read yet. I expect that we'll be kind of more formally starting that in the next week or so. And part of what we're kind of want to work with our EJ folks within the department and also you guys and the broader community is trying to kind of identify not only the different ways, but help recruit people to participate. So that's going to be
great. Thanks for the update.
Probably.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's not, so it's kind of, that's also a heads up that it's not just going to be the Wayside Cleanup Advisory Committee, but we'll be going through the various, I just did a SIDWAC, the Safe Drinking Water Act Advisory Committee. There are advisory committees for all of our programs. And so they're all going to be going under review. The first ones will be the ones that we have more control over how they're formed. The other advisory committees and boards that have statutory rules, I guess, not limitations, but kind of rules about how one goes about it and require, governor appointees and things like that. Those are a lot harder. Our experience,
Right.
As you know, with the LSP board,
Right.
And getting vacancies filled is that it's not an easy process.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Well, that's
But-
great. Thanks for offering this advisory committee for the first one out of the gate.
Yeah. Let's see. I think that's kind of not a lot of updates. We're entering the quiet time. In towards the holidays in the new year, which actually reminds me that probably I'm going to be taking some time off, so I think next week we can do this, but the week after that, which would be the day, which would be New Year's Eve, I'm probably going to be completely off. So I'll post something on the website about it. But if you tune in and nobody's here, that's why.
Mhm. All right, time to go.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. Talk to you guys next
Bye.
week.
See you next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.